In the coming 60 minutes, I will present you a sideline of the King's Indian. The position we target appears after d4, d6, knight f3, knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, and now the move bishop f5 in order to prevent white from playing e2, e4. We will start with the question of the move order, since black can either start with knight f6 or with d6 on the first move. There are some drawbacks with both moves, and you will need to have something prepared for d4, d6, e4 if you start with d6. In which case, after knight f6, knight c3, you can either go g6, which is a pirk, or e5, and then play the Philidor defense. Or if you go for knight f6 on the first move, then there is c4, d6, knight c3, and now on bishop f5, white is not forced to go knight f3. f3, e5 is supposed to be quite okay for black, as far as I know. Now if e4, e takes d4, queen takes d4, knight c6, black gains the tempo on the queen, white has a stable center. After something like queen d2, bishop b6, black will go g6, bishop g7, and then most likely play something like knight d7, then either f5 or a5, and put his knight on c5. While on e5, d5, there is the move e4. Then theory gives g4 as a forced draw after knight takes g4, f takes g4, queen h4, king d2, e3, king takes e3, queen g5, and I think this is supposed to end in a perpetual check. Since of course king d4 is a bit too risky, c5 takes, knight takes c6, and the white king gets mated. So this is not a theoretical problem. After e4, white is of course not forced to go g4. He can play bishop e3, but this is fully playable for black. More problematic, in my opinion, is I should also say that the ending after e5 is not supposed to be a nuisance for black. Takes, takes, takes. And if now white goes e4, which is probably the most natural move, bishop e6, and later on white may be bothered with the hole, with the weak point on d4. Black will continue c6, put his king on c7, his bishop on c5 if allowed, and so on and so on. It's a very easy play for black. Probably if white wants to get some activity at some point, he will have to play with f4, but then he will remain with an isolated pawn on e4 after black takes, he takes f4. So I said, I started to say that more problematic in my opinion is, for instance, the move for g3, and if e5, bishop g2, and now I think I tried to make e takes d4 work. If queen takes, then knight c6, and this should be quite playable for black, but unfortunately I was not so convinced that there is enough compensation for the exchange after bishop takes b7, d takes c3, bishop takes a8. This means that after bishop g2, black should continue either c6 or knight c6, and white can continue pushing and get a slight advantage due to his space supremacy. So this is a slight problem of the move order. But otherwise, well, the system is quite interesting. I will try to convince you in the next few clips, and we will deal here with the main lines, the main tries for white after knight f3, knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, bishop f5. See you soon.